Hey guys, in this video we're going to be painting the elephants. Get your canvas out. You're going to need your paint on your plate, or you could just work from your cups as you go, but you'll definitely want to be mixing colors on your plate. I've got a towel for drying off my brushes, and I've got my jar of water for cleaning my brushes, and then of course my brushes. I've got 3 sizes. Really, I think I only need 2 for this, like a big one and maybe this medium-sized one. So that's basically all you need. And you're gonna need a Sharpie. I'm gonna use black. Any dark color will work. Because we just want to outline. We're gonna trace right over top of the pencil. That way when we do the background, we can go right through to continue the color, and those lines will still show through. So that will be step 1. We are gonna just take our Sharpie and trace over all of the pencil. So just take your time and just go right over top. This is easier if you do it like in your lap. And if it's not perfect, that's fine. It will be covered later when we paint everything black. I don't know if I mentioned this. With the marker, it might be too late now, you've already started, but you definitely want permanent. I'm not positive because I've never used a marker that wasn't permanent, but I would just worry that when you paint on top of a non-permanent marker that it will bleed and it'll like smear out into your paint. With this one it might not matter too much just because we have lots of fun colors. That would be my only concern about not using permanent. Sorry, you probably already started with a non-permanent, and now I feel bad. Okay, so step 1 complete. I'm gonna work on my background now, and I'm just gonna go from the top down to the bottom. So the top is more like blues and turquoisey colors. And on my plate, I'm gonna just kind of mix my blue and my turquoise together. It's not even like a perfect mix. It's just very loose. And your color doesn't need to be exactly like mine. This is very forgiving as far as color mixing goes. And I'm just gonna start at the top and go straight across. And while I work, it's important that you do this while you work. You're just gonna take bits of white and blend through. So if you were to just streak the blue turquoisey color on to start and didn't work the white in while it was still wet, you wouldn't get it to blend well. The paint has to be wet to blend. So you can, add more blues in if you want darker spots. So if I just wanted to take some blue, maybe just kind of blend some straight blue on. Just whatever you want. And I just work in small sections, long light strokes straight across. Because anytime you lift up your brush and put it back down, it's gonna leave marks. So if you can go all the way across, it'll be nice smooth coverage. So I'm just gonna keep working downward with my color. I'm probably only going to go about to, well, let's say here. Like maybe like within, I'll only take my blue down this far. Because I'm gonna start adding yellow in at that point. And then a little white. just to smooth it out, add a little variation. If you keep going over it back and forth, you lose the stripe. If you want a more prominent streak of color through, just don't blend it as many times back and forth. So I'm just going again with my solid color. Take a little bit of white. And just back and forth to blend. Maybe I want it a little darker. Just take some of the blue, and you can just kind of blend that in also. Just back and forth. So I'm getting pretty close to where I want to stop. I'll go maybe a little bit further down. I can always adjust it later if I need to. And try your best to keep your strokes level. You want your paint to be a straight lines across. Need a little white blended in. I got the heat on, so it's drying fairly quickly. So I gotta work fairly fast because I don't want my paint to dry. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to start working yellow in. And I'm gonna clean out my brush. Get all the blue out. And as you can see, those Sharpie lines show right through very well. If yours are not showing through well, it is because you have way too thick of paint. You want nice, thin coat of paint. Just get back up through there and just keep spreading it out. If you need to like scrape it off with your brush, you would just take your clean brush across it, and then you would just like wipe it off on a towel, and then go back in and kind of wipe some more off. So I'm getting my brush cleaned out. I want that blue out of it. If there's a little in, that's okay, because it does kind of all kind of blend together. So the yellow is a very pale yellow. I'm gonna just take some of my white over to the side and then just stir in a little bit of yellow. And then I'm gonna leave a little space, and I'm just gonna go straight across with my yellow. And you don't really need to go all the way, oops, that's bright. You don't really need to go through the elephant here because that is all being painted black. So make sure you just get the background area. I'm gonna get in this little part that kind of shines through. And I'm gonna get a little down in here. So I've got my yellow. And then I want to get this blue and this yellow to kind of merge together. So I'm gonna take my yellow. I did this part last because I want to make sure that this part is nice and wet. So I'm taking the yellow right up to the line. Right up to where that blue turquoisey color is. And then with my dirty brush, I'm gonna dip it into the bluish turquoise color. And I'm just gonna overlap and blend it down into some of my yellow here. And I'm gonna go down, I'll probably go down about, I don't know, let's see. Let me get this blended in. And also, white is your friend. If it gets too dark, you can always take some white. Need a little bit more blue because I'm getting a weird line. A little bit more blue. And just smooth it across. And very wispy, with the side of your brush, you can just kind of put some wispies in there. And then I'm going to blend it with some yellow. I'm going to clean the excess blue out of my brush. And then just take some yellow and work upward. Nice long strokes. So right in here isn't going to show, so I'm not worried about that. This isn't going to show because all of this, again, is going to be painted black. And it's going to hide all that craziness. So now I'm going to work down from here and start getting like my reds and those warmer tones put in. I'm going to clean out my brush just to start nice and fresh. And I need yellow. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit more yellow. Oh no, my black has oozed. So I'm gonna get green in it. Okay, so back over here with my white, trying to get that green out. And then just stir in yellow. So you just have that nice light buttery yellow color. If you still had some, great. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as before, just close. And I'm gonna come back in here, just go right back over top of what I had done here. And I'm gonna go down to about there. I'm gonna get that filled in nice and solid. And I'm gonna start working in a little bit of red. So just a very tiny bit. The red is very strong. When we mix it in with this, it's going to kind of be an orangish. Just tiny bit. And always put more on. So I'll just kind of start from the bottom and work up. And I don't want to blend it too much because I like the streak. So if I kept blending, it would just turn a solid orange. I want to have the variation. So I'll just very lightly go over it just a few times to get a blend. I'm gonna keep working down, and I'm gonna start with a little bit more bright red, overlapping a little. And I'm just gonna go all the way down with my red. And I'm just focusing on the part that's actually going to show, because all this, I keep saying it, it's going to be black. So there's no point in really spreading your paint all the way. If you want to, that's perfectly fine. Go all the way across. It doesn't matter. So while this is still wet, I'm going to add in a little bit of some like blue colors. So I'll just take this the tiniest bit of blue. You don't need to clean out your brush. Mine's got all kinds of colors on it. But you can see the very tip has just the tiniest bit of blue. So I'm just gonna start right here where it's kind of the most saturated. And it's important your paint be wet because you need this to blend. And just very lightly, tiny bit of blue, tiny bits. I know that looks really dark right now, but you're gonna just take some white on your brush and go right over top, and it kind of gives it a lighter, softer tint. We're trying to get a little bit of my purpley up just a little bit higher into this, just a little bit more blue on my brush. just the tiniest bit. And then I can take a little bit of white and blend it. Oops, got a little yellow on my brush. That's okay. It all smushes together just fine. And I'm using the side of my brush more, and it makes a skinnier line. Maybe I'll take some yellow, clean it out, and then I'll just take a little yellow down into this, just so I don't have such a stark line. I want it to be a little more gradual. So I'm going to use the side of my brush so that it's narrow. Just a little bit of my yellow. And you could just kind of just lightly whisk back and forth. Very light-handed. Just get a little of your yellow to come down into your colors down here. There. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and dry before I move on to the black, and that's really all that's next. Once you have your background how you like it, you're happy with it, you're just going to paint the elephant silhouette black. I'm going to blow this dry just to make sure all of everything I'll be painting on top of is dry and doesn't blend in and make my black kind of gray. That looks good. So we're just gonna go in with the black paint. Use whatever size brush you're comfortable with. I'll probably use my kind of medium smaller brush in these areas here that are smaller, but the majority I'm going to use the black brush. It goes a lot quicker, and you get less streaks. So just nice, clean, dried out brush. Just plain black paint. You're just going to come in and just paint all of your elephants. Make sure you're smoothing out your paint. You don't want globs. And also, make sure you're getting right up and over your Sharpie line. You don't want that showing through later. I use a smaller brush for those little wrinkles there, just to be on the safe side. Be careful you don't cover that little piece there. That's pretty important. There's this like little tiny triangle piece right in here. Do not fill that in. Without it, you kind of lose your tusks. You'll lose that tusk. If by chance you do accidentally paint over that, just let it dry. You'll paint it back in white. You might need a few coats of white. Let it dry in between each coat until it gets back to, you know, you can't really see the black paint through it. And then just take a little bit of your pale yellow on top of your white and cover it the way up. And that's just in case you accidentally fill that in. Painted this in the studio before for a class. And as I recall, I think a couple people accidentally did that. They were just, you know, visiting with their friends and maybe not paying attention that great. And just, whoops, filled her in. But it's easy enough fix. See, I just kind of got into my triangle a little. I'm gonna have to touch that up. And I'll do just like I said. Just gonna wait for it to dry. And I can make it back to the shape it needs to be with some white paint and a little patience. I'm gonna just go back with my medium, smaller brush. I'm gonna clean up any areas that I couldn't get good with the big brush. Okay, so I've got this pretty much done. I'm just going to touch up this little weird lip here. I'm going to blow this dry just so I can get that fixed up. Make that little triangle shape a little better. Get my tusk looking like a tusk. Take a very little brush, got this little guy here, just plain white paint, very little. I don't want it to be globby. I'd rather have lots of layers to get good coverage than thick goopy ones. I don't want it to look like I've come in and painted on top of this. So my triangle needs to be a little bit bigger. I got a little carried away. So I've got my tusk back here, and I can see that one there fine. Just take your time with this. This is just a fixing a boo-boo part of the painting. It's only if you need to fix that little triangle shapey in there. I'm gonna blow it dry just so that I can put another coat on. Obviously I can still see that black showing through. Just a tiny bit of white. And I'm just gonna repeat this process until I can no longer see black through it. It's probably gonna take 3 or 4 coats. A little bit of white. Just getting there, slow and steady. I'm just gonna say that's good for now, just because you don't need to like watch me do this for the next 30 minutes. But if you need more coats, absolutely do more coats. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the brush and just take a little bit of my light yellow color. I have lots on my plate. This was the yellow we mixed in with the background, just tiny bit. And I'm just gonna get that little weird shape that I painted white. Try not to get sloppy. Don't want to get it on the black, then we'll have to touch that up. It'll be a never-ending process. And there, like it never happened, good as new. Since I am finished, I'm gonna go ahead and sign it. I will make maybe a dark gray, and I can kind of hide it down in this area here. A little bit of black and white mixed together. I just scooped up a little bit of white. I'm stirring it in with some black. I make sure you can see, sorry. And then because I like my paint to be thin and have a nice flow to it, I just dip my brush in a little water, stir that water into a little bit of my mix. And then I can get my name on, maybe stuck. There we go. right here. And that is it. When you're all finished, go ahead and take pictures for me. I love seeing your finished work. You can post them on my Facebook page, Willy-Nilly. There is a post pinned right at the top for you to be able to find real easy. Just upload there. And that way I can see. And then check out everybody else's work while you're there. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.